Alright guys, I just thought I'd cover this topic a little bit because I know I've discussed what I like about the Philippines, but I just want to talk generally as a foreigner. What is it about the Philippines? Um, Although there's a lot of attractive women there, which is one of the main reasons a lot of expats end up there, I find it's much deeper than that because there is a lot of perspective in there, the different perspective. It's not as commercialized, it's not as consumer obsessed, which, okay, it's catching up quite rapidly and you do see a lot of the junk on the TV. But if you get away from that, I, I find there's a lot more genuine people. I find people are less orientated around things like fast cars and stuff because most people don't have one. A, they can't afford it, but B, they're not really talking about it as much. They're more interested in day-to-day things. I find the family orientation is still there. The pulling of each other together is something that's very, very important in the Philippines. People seem to function as a family unit rather than a group of individuals, which is often the case in a lot of Western families. That's the reality, you know, having that community spirit, because it's not just the immediate family as well, it's the extended family, it's the neighborhood, it's the I remember when I was sick with dengue, my mother-in-law was like burning rubbish outside to keep the mosquitoes away, because obviously one of the things is actually making sure there's no spread of disease in the hood, as well as making sure I don't get any worse. But that rotate around the family, you know, people look after each other. It's very common to see grandparents still living within the family. They're not sent off to some care home, but they are no longer the responsibility of the kids. The kids have time for their families. There's a lot of respect within the elders from their children and their grandkids, and you know, the whole family unit is still maintained. Doesn't matter how difficult the family is, they still maintain a family unit. I don't see it as much in the West. I remember it as a child, don't get me wrong, but I see it myself even in family gatherings. Everyone's trying to keep up with each other and they're, you know, comparing cars and all this nonsense. What I find the most bizarre about that from the West is it's superficial. People have bigger houses, bigger cars, but it's not really a bigger house or a bigger car. It's bigger debt. Because unless they actually own it outright, it's not really an asset. It's a liability. But there's this whole thing about it. You know, it's the world revolves around it for many people. I don't really see that too much in the Philippines. You will get it within the communities, but at the same time, not to the same level. That's an important thing. You've got that togetherness as a family unit. The same with country. You see what poverty means, what it really means, and you get a better understanding of have nothing. Because I know in the UK you often see it in the crappy newspapers here. Poor is when you can't buy an Xbox for Christmas. You know, they don't see it as the price of rice has just gone up, so you have to skip a meal for the entire family every day. That doesn't even come into it. Pag, which is recycled food and stuff, doesn't come into it. So you do get a better perspective on things. You can see how the impact of low cost in the West can often impact the East, because obviously driving down costs in the West comes at a price. All these sort of things are what you come away with, a better understanding of the effect the West has on other countries. But also you see corruption, and I'll be honest with you, I think it's more a case of the corruption in the Philippines is as bad as it is in the West, but they have less budget, so you can see it. when, you know, look at the expenses of MPs in the UK. It's just riddled with corruption. Even look at all this thing with the fire stuff going on now. Everyone's like, it's Theresa May's fault. It's all the Conservatives, blah, blah, blah. A lot of this stuff that's been going on was under the Labour governments. Blair has a lot to blame. Here in Worcester, the NHS were walking today, complaining about the hospital. Do you know what? That was a super hospital put out there by Tony Blair. It's got nothing to do with the Conservatives. But my point being is, you get a perspective on things. You can, in the Philippines, at least their corruption's in your face. You can see it. You start to see it when you come back to the West, because instead of ignoring it, you can see through it. Because in the Philippines, you see it on the bridge. There's a sign on the bridge saying, by the efforts of, by Mayor such and such, whatever. And you know it's not their money, it's tax money. We also know about things like where 50% of the budgets vanish, where a road suddenly stops because the money ran out. But there was enough money to start with. It's been stolen. Those sort of things sort of open your eyes to reality of the way the world works. But at the same time, I still love the country. I still love it. I still love being there when I'm there. My mother-in-law's there, my sister-in-law's there, etc. So, yeah, I still think it's a great country. I also find for business, it's good. It's a good country to do business, if you know how to do it. I know a lot of people hit difficulties, but even there is a bar sold recently that all the money's been recouped. The guy's actually... Oh, hang on, I've got a little friend down here. Don't know where he's come from. Look, you know, I keep feeding these birds. It must be something wrong. We'll have a look at him in a minute. But the reality is, I found it very easy to do business. Much, much easier than the UK. And I'm not joking. It's much easier to do business. I do think some people hit it wrong. I do think they run into the wrong people. I do think a lot of people set up businesses with no idea how to run a business, or with over expectations. Because you can't set up a business in the East that only costs, say, $2,000 and expect it to make you the same income as it does in the UK or US, whatever. It's a local market, and the profits are going to be based on a local profit margin. You also understand that a lot of it is a closed shop. The best businesses are not ones selling, what do you call it, snacks to school kids. The best ones are things that use things like the BPO industry. It's all about making money from the resources you have, which is a country that has a lot of people that are fluent in English. That's a major thing. And it's cheap labor. Cheap labor, reliable labor. You manage the people right, they'll make you money. Yeah, he's back again. I wonder what he's doing. Oh, all the birds are off. But yeah, those are the things you got to look at. We did well out of the Philippines. We own our properties in the Philippines. We've got our call centres out there. We've got our apartments in the Philippines. We got enough set up there that if we went back, I could basically live on as much as people are making on their pensions. I already make that internally in the Philippines. So yeah, it's a great country. I do think a lot of people knock it for many reasons, and I do wonder how much of it's self-inflicted, or people have had bad experiences that are down to ignoring knowledge, etc. Because myself, I've never had any really bad experiences in the Philippines. I've always found it a country that's easy to work out, easy to understand, and even easier when the fact that nearly everybody speaks English. Yeah, it's a good country. All right, thanks for watching.